In my last video, I talked about 10 players who are disappointing this season. This time, I'm going to go over 10 players who surprised me this season. To clarify, when I say surprise, I mean they were surprising in a good way. Once again, there will be no particular order for this, just like the last video. What is up with everybody? My name is Luke, and let's get started. First off, honorable mention to Jonathan Isaac, who is looking like the Magic's best player to start the season, while also making a case for the All-NBA defensive team. But he got injured early and wasn't able to continue, so that's why he's not on the main list. The first player that I want to talk about is Duncan Robinson, who, to be honest, I didn't really know who this guy was until the season started. But if you look at his rookie year stats, you'd think that he'd be out of the league soon. But this year, he killed it, becoming a full-time starter for the Heat and being one of the best pure shooters in the league, shooting a very impressive 45% from 3 on about 8 attempts per game. I don't think he'll provide much outside of shooting threes at a high rate, but this is surprising given the way that his career started. Next up on the list is Christian Wood of the Detroit Pistons, who was also undrafted back in 2015, and honestly I didn't know who he was until early in the season either. But with the Pistons, he's shown a lot of promise, and will likely be the big man for them instead of Thon Maker. As a starter for the Pistons, Wood averaged an impressive 22 points and 9 rebounds, although somebody could argue that it's a small sample size and maybe just empty stats on a bad team. He's still been surprising because it looked like he wasn't going to last in the league at all, let alone get meaningful minutes on any NBA team. Kelly Oubre Jr. is another player that I've been impressed by this season. He's been really comfortable ever since getting traded to the Suns, but now has gotten a lot better than I would have expected, becoming a 19 points per game scorer and overall looking much more aggressive, driving into the paint more, showing off his athleticism with all the dunks, and more. Now he looks like a legit starter in the league, so good on him for being able to perform like this in this second home. The next player on the list is Devonte Graham. Now, I don't think Graham is good enough to be a starter on a championship caliber team, but just last season, he looked like another rookie who would end up in the G League, which is why he's been a surprising player. He's a solid 3-point shooter and can pass the ball pretty well, so that's already pretty good when you consider the circumstances he was in. Of course, he's already 25, so I don't think he'll be able to improve that much. However, he can still probably be a 6-man on a top tier team in my opinion. His efficiency is well below average, as he's terrible from everywhere inside the 3-point arc, so he must get better there, but still, impressive season from him. The fifth player on this list is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now everybody knew that this kid had potential, and people were even questioning if the Clippers gave up too much to get Paul George, which by the way they didn't, because they basically needed to in order to get Kawhi. But anyway, even though I predicted SGA would have a breakout year, I didn't think he'd explode by this much, and he's a big reason why the Thunder have been arguably the most surprising team of the season. The sophomore has shown to be a solid all-around player, as he can score on all ends of the floor and plays good defense too. I don't need to say this, but I'll say it anyway. The future is bright for the Thunder. Next up on this list is Royce ONeal, which might be one of the more unconventional choices, because it's not like his stats are anything good at all. But the thing is, I didn't think he'd make it in this league given that he was undrafted and spent his first years of his career in Europe, not to mention that he's undersized for a forward. But the thing is, his 3-point shot has been much improved and honestly has been better for the Jazz than Mike Conley. If you look at the Jazz starters and put in ONeal instead of Conley, they have an insane net rating of plus 13.9, and I'm convinced that ONeal can make it in the league as a solid role player any team could utilize. Brandon Ingram is another player that surprised me this season. Although I did predict Ingram would have a breakout year, a lot of things about him surprised me. His 3-point shot is better, his free throw shooting is better, so overall, better shooting in general. He also has averaged way more points than I had initially thought, which has to do with his improved shooting and efficiency. Even though I did predict a breakout season, I didn't think BI would make the All-Star game, but he did. He's now showing the star potential that people always thought he had, even when Zion finally played. Now I still don't think that BI is the next KD or whatever, but he's still going to be a really good player for a long time, and definitely has earned his big payday this coming offseason. Carmelo Anthony surprised me a lot this season, because honestly I thought Melo was done after last season and that he would just quietly retire. But with the Blazers, he's actually been pretty good, and he's been okay with just being a role player to help score the basket. Now defensively he's still bad, but that's true for the team in general. Not too bad for a guy that people thought was done for, and who knows, maybe Melo still has a few years left in the tank. The second to last player on this list is Trae Young, who everybody knew would be really good, but he has exceeded expectations by quite a bit just because he got really good really fast. His court vision has been spectacular. Even though I thought that there was a chance he'd lead the league in assists per game this season, his scoring has also been really good, and his shooting too. Now I don't want to say he's the next Steph Curry or whatever because his shooting isn't nearly as good, but he's got the offensive skill set of Dame with the passing of Steve Nash already, so that in itself is very, very impressive. The final player on this list is Luka Doncic, who everybody also knew was going to be very, very, very good. But I'm sure most of us didn't expect that he'd be this good this soon, kind of like Trae Young. He's averaging similar numbers close to Westbrook's MVP season as a sophomore, and not only has he been putting up ridiculous stats, he's also the leader of the NBA's best offense. Of course, there are still a few things about his game which aren't nearly as good, like his shooting and athleticism, but we all know he's going to be a beast and a superstar, so really excited for what happens to him in the future. But anyway, that does it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Is there anybody on this list I should not have included? Or maybe some players that I did not put on that should have been included? Let me know in the comments below. My next video will be a list of players that I think deserve more respect from this season, so be on the lookout for that. And with that, I'm out. See you guys next time.